In today's video, I want to talk about something that I know a lot of people are struggling with right now. So let me know if you can relate to this. So you get paid and you are doing really well. You're paying all your bills, you're getting your groceries, you might even be throwing in a little bit of fun. And as the days go on, you're counting down the days until you get paid again because you've already started to run out of money. And it's such a frustrating cycle because you're like, I make good money, but I still feel like I'm just barely scraping by. I just can't get ahead. So if that sounds like you, then stick around because I'm going to talk about what causes this paycheck to paycheck cycle. And also I'm going to share with you 5 tips for breaking free of this cycle. So let me define what living paycheck to paycheck means so that we're all on the same page. Basically, every dollar that you have coming in is going right back out to cover all of your basic living expenses, just like your housing, your car, your utilities, your groceries, and any other miscellaneous expenses. So you don't have a lot of money left over for saving or investing or just having fun. So when you don't have margin in your budget for anything that's unexpected, then everything becomes an emergency. So if your car breaks down or if you blow a tire and you don't have any margin in your budget, then you can't handle that expense. And then you might have to maybe not pay your rent, or you can't get groceries that week, or then you have to rely on debt. So I consider living paycheck to paycheck to be a financial emergency because what if you didn't get paid or you had an unexpected bill come up? Then you would have to make the choice between, okay, am I going to pay this unexpected bill or am I going to pay my rent or buy groceries? And I remember in 2019, the government shut down for a few weeks and my brother's in the military, so he gets paid with the government. And he didn't get paid for a couple weeks. And can you imagine if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you need all your money when it's supposed to come. And what if you had, to pay your baby's daycare bill or you needed to pay your rent and you didn't get paid? These people don't care. They want their money. So living paycheck to paycheck is not a good place to be. Not only is living paycheck to paycheck bad for you financially, it's also harmful for your mental and emotional health. Because if you have to make choices between, okay, this week, am I going to pay my rent or am I going to buy groceries? You just have no peace. There's no way that you can sleep at night when you're making those type of choices. So I want to protect not only your financial future, but I want you to be healthy mentally and emotionally as well. And living paycheck to paycheck destroys that. I remember when I was living paycheck to paycheck, it was such a stressful time in my life. I remember just having so much anxiety because I was just like, okay, what's coming around the corner? Like, something always is about to happen. Like, is my car going to break down? I was worried to do a lot of things because what if something happens and then I have to pay for something that I cannot afford to pay for? So it was just hard to sleep at night. I had so much stress. And also, it's just, you don't have a lot of freedom. When you need every single dime that comes into your bank account every single month just to cover basic expenses, you don't have freedom to, go have a vacation or start saving money for your goal of buying a house or investing. And you're just stuck. So I really am passionate about this and I really want to help you guys to break free from this paycheck to paycheck. So let's get into the causes of why you can fall into living paycheck to paycheck. So one reason for living paycheck to paycheck is that your income is too low relative to your expenses. And this typically affects low income earners. So if you work at McDonald's but you have 4 children to feed, it is going to be very difficult to make ends meet and most likely you will be living paycheck to paycheck. But also you could be a high income earner living paycheck to paycheck. And actually a lot of high income earners do end up living paycheck to paycheck because no matter if you make $5,000 a month or $100,000 a month, if your expenses are the exact same as your income or even more, you will be living paycheck to paycheck. So another reason that you might end up living paycheck to paycheck is if you have like a major emergency in your life, like you lose your job unexpectedly or you have a huge health issue or health emergency that you cannot work, you will quickly fall into living paycheck to paycheck because you have lost your source of income. And another reason is having a high debt burden. So let's say you have a mortgage, a car payment, student loans, credit cards. all of those are taking money out of your pocket every single month, and that's less money that you have to put towards your basic living expenses, let alone saving or investing. And the issue is when something unexpected comes up, or you don't get paid, then you don't have any margin in your budget to cover that. So what happens is you will rely on more debt. So it's a compounding problem. So having a high debt burden definitely makes it more likely that you're going to live paycheck to paycheck. And one other reason that you might be living paycheck to paycheck, and this is actually the most common reason, is lifestyle. And most people don't want to admit it, but we are a lot of the times living a higher standard of living than our paycheck can afford. So if you are, eating out all the time and you're shopping and you're living in this expensive apartment and just all these other things that are lifestyle issues that push you into living paycheck to paycheck, they push your expenses up, but your income isn't matching that or even exceeding your expenses, you're going to be living paycheck to paycheck. So now that we've talked about the causes of living paycheck to paycheck, I want to talk about some tips of how you can break the cycle. But first, before I do that, if you've gotten value so far from this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below which one of these causes has caused you to live paycheck to paycheck. I would love to hear your answers in the comments. So my first tip is to audit your finances. And by auditing your finances, I mean I want you to take a deep dive into your income and your expenses because I want you to get a good picture of your financial standing. So if you see me looking down, I'll be looking at my notes because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So let's start with your income. I want you to write down all of your sources of income, whether that's your full-time job, that's your part-time job, your Social Security check, your child support check, in whatever way you get income each month, I want you to write it down. And I also want you to take note of how often do you get this money? Is it weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly? And is this income consistent or is it variable? So is the amount, $2,000 every single month guaranteed, or does it fluctuate based on how often you work? And this information is so key because we're going to make a budget in a later tip, and we need to have a clear understanding of how much money you make. So if your money comes in variable, so you don't know exactly how much each paycheck is going to be, then I want you to take the average of your last, say, 3 to 6 months of income in order to get a realistic idea of your income. So next, let's talk about expenses. I want you to write down all of your expenses. So what you can do is you can go to your bank account and print out your bank statement that has all of your spending for the last month. But I would actually go back the last 3 months and really compare each month and all the expenses that you have. And you should categorize each expense into, say, housing, utilities, food, miscellaneous, entertainment, whatever the category those expenses fall into. I want you to categorize each expense and kind of come up with a total of how much you're spending in each category. So this exercise will really help make a clear picture of where your money is going each month. And I remember when I first started, getting my money in order, that's the very first thing that I did. I started tracking my expenses, and I realized that I was spending over $900 a month on food, which it was insane when I realized that, because if you would have just asked me how much you spend a month on food, I would have said maybe, 300 to 500 on a, good month. But I was spending $900 a month on eating out and groceries. And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't take the time to really track each expense. So this step is very crucial, especially when we get to the budgeting step. We need to know a realistic picture of how much you're spending in all of these categories. So take the time and write out all your expenses. Tip 2, make a budget. Now that we know exactly what is coming in each month and what is going out each month, it'll be very easy to set up a budget because all we simply have to do is make what's going out each month lower than what's coming in each month. So that'll give you a little bit of margin in your budget each month for saving or investing. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the 50-30-20 budgeting rule. And that means, so you'll take 50% of your monthly income and you'll put that towards your needs. So that's your housing, your minimum debt payments, utilities, food, childcare, things like that. You'll take 30% of your monthly income for wants. So that's your traveling, your monthly subscriptions, entertainment, or eating out. And then you'll take the last 20% of your monthly income and you'll put that towards saving and extra debt payments. So this will require you to cut expenses. But like I said, living paycheck to paycheck is a financial emergency. So it will require drastic measures in order to break free from this. So that's why we did the deep dive into our expenses earlier, so that we could see what expenses we could cut in order to meet this budgeting guideline. Now, if you cannot get your needs to 50% of your monthly income, that could be very difficult to do in the beginning. It's okay. The point is to just start. So if you have to do a 75, 15, 10 budgeting rule, you can make it work for you. But the point is, I want you to just get organized with your finances and try to at least save a little bit each month. Sometimes cutting expenses isn't enough to stop living paycheck to paycheck, and if that is true for you, then my third tip is increase your income. Obviously, you have to pay the rent, you have to pay the light bill, and you gotta eat. So there's only so much you can cut expenses. So the next logical step is you have to get your income up. And I know, people do not like to hear they need to work more, but it's true. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you have to choose your heart. Either you're gonna stay in this paycheck to paycheck cycle, which is incredibly stressful, or you're gonna work hard and get out of the debt or increase your income so that you can get out of this cycle. So it's unavoidable. You're going to have hard either way. So what I would suggest is asking your family or friends if there's a service that you can provide for them. So if you have a skill like doing hair, doing makeup, or if you can watch someone's children or dog sit or different things like that they'll pay you for. Also, talk to your boss and see if you can get overtime hours, or you might have to start a side hustle like Uber or DoorDash. But whatever you need to do, get creative and get that income up fast. Tip number 4, build an emergency fund. Having margin in your budget is key to no longer living paycheck to paycheck. So now that we have some savings each month, I want you to prioritize building your emergency fund. And that can just be a little bit at a time. It doesn't have to be $1,000 immediately. It can just be even a $500 emergency fund, and you put away $20 each month or $50 each month. Just whatever you have. The point is to just start, because when you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have room for emergencies. And once you get an emergency fund built up, even a small one, it just helps you breathe easier each month. So I really want you to prioritize this tip. Tip number 5, pay off debt. So at this point, you've made a budget, you've cut your expenses, you've increased your income, and you even have a starter emergency fund. And this next step is you have to get out of debt. This is a non-negotiable step. You have to get high interest debt out of your life, because that is only going to precipitate you continuing to live paycheck to paycheck. Just imagine if you could save that $500 car payment or that $275 credit card payment and you didn't have to go out each month. The more money that you can keep in your pocket each month, that's more money that you could save for a home or for retirement or for your child's college fund or even just to go on vacation. So getting out of debt is a vital step to breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle. So what I recommend is using the snowball method. And basically what that is is you'll line up your debts smallest to largest and you'll tackle the smallest balance first. So all the extra money that you have saved each month after you did your emergency fund, you will put towards that first debt. And then once you have that paid off, then you'll put all that extra money to the next debt. And the name says, it's a snowball effect. And you'll start paying all those debts down faster and faster because you're focused. This tip is so important, you guys, because when you are in debt, you're pretty much in slavery. Like, I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was telling me about a man that she heard was working so many hours at work because he had a lot of debt, and he ended up having a heart attack and dying because he couldn't stop working because he had so much debt payments and the lifestyle that I was talking about. He was trying to keep up with a certain lifestyle, which caused him to be in a lot of debt, which meant that he had to work a ton of hours. So it is just so important for you to get this debt out of your life because you have more freedom to just rest. You don't have to work 2 or 3 jobs when you don't have debt. You don't have to, do these things that you don't want to do when you don't have debt. You have choices, and that is what I want to help you guys achieve. Living paycheck to paycheck can feel very demoralizing and very exhausting, and you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. But trust me, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I am proof of it. I used to live paycheck to paycheck, and now I am debt free. I have more joy, more peace in my life, and I have extra money to use on things that I actually care about. So I hope that this video was helpful for you all, and let me know in the comments down below which tip you're going to take action on today. And I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye.